And welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Veteran Nation. We are still trying to get back into the swing of things because we had a couple weeks off, and we are trying to figure out what day we're going to be doing the show live
A
because things have
couple,
changed.
a couple.
A couple of weeks, yeah, like a month.
It's been longer than that. I thought I got fired.
That's we had to discuss some changes. We're still discussing changes, but we didn't want to leave the fans out there high
That
and dry.
wasn't a promising response.
The nice thing though
Was
is
there some sort of backroom conversation? Was my termination discussed? Juan holds up.
Juan
We
wants
will
to talk
talk about
about
that later.
termination later.
He just wants to do it on. He just wants to do it on air.
Your
That's
last
fine.
paycheck's in the mail.
Can I get my first paycheck? That'd be
That's
great.
in the mail too. Um, I
Same envelope.
The one thing I do like is even with us on hiatus, you and I are still doing some pretty significant things. I'll just say you had a really important guest, a guy on your show. It was what, Sunday? Or no, Monday.
No, Monday of last week.
Yes, Officer Thompson.
Thornton, you mean?
Thornton. Sorry. I do
Detective Matt Thornton. Yeah,
I do
yeah. You
subscribe.
clearly, you clearly watched. I could tell. It's you have all the facts
I didn't watch the whole
nailed.
thing. No, I actually subscribed to him. I do watch his videos, so I did watch a little bit of your discussion with him. Uh, Pretty interesting guy who's doing some really good work.
You're so you're holding back something there. Pretty interesting guy who's doing some
Well,
really good
you're
work.
the one who talked to him. I want to hear your take on it.
Oh no, well I've been following him for some time because he's in that really weird. Now that we're talking about it, it's probably going to cause him problems, but um, he's in that really weird place where, as an active law enforcement officer, he's a
Mhm.
SRO now.
Yep.
Uh, and his channel is Detective Matt Thornton, but he's an SRO, and but he's very vocal about supporting First Amendment and Second Amendment auditors. He's very vocal about calling out what he sees as tyranny and abuse of authority and excessive use of force and overall bad attitude, and which is what attracted me to his channel when I first discovered him. And I don't remember
Mhm.
exactly when I first discovered him, but and he does it with the backing of his agency, which is just like, if you want a little bit of a white pill experience, that's it,
Talk
because
about
it's like
refreshing, right?
literally it's the only agency in the country where a guy like him can get away with what he's doing without any fear of repercussions or retaliation. He does just a ton of shorts. It'd be if Juan is paying attention to us before he fires me tonight, we could look up. He he actually has clipped out a couple of shorts, or clipped out a couple of videos where one of them, he took a clip that I was doing a walk and talk, kind of explaining about my journey to where how I moved away from the back to blue at all cost mentality, and he took a clip of that and put it out
Hmm.
on his channel, and he told me there's going to be more. He's going to do more of that with my content, so it's really humbling, but it's also invigorating at the same time, because, as I said, his agency's behind him.
Hmm.
They they have no problem with him saying these things, and it shouldn't be so mind blowing for us to say that. Just you can hear. I know you can hear the shock in my voice, even talking about having had him on. I'm still in shock that he's able to get away with that,
Hmm.
and that should be the norm. That should
Yeah.
absolutely be the norm. But it's not. It's just not. And officers and deputies and troopers out there, and Skipper and Juan knows, and everybody on the network who's paid any attention to us know how I feel about this, and others out there know how I feel about it. I support law and order. I support justice, but I cannot be in the camp today of saying, by and large, the vast majority of people in the career field are good, solid, upstanding individuals. And it hurts to say that because guys like Matt and his agency are an absolute minority, because so many are silent. And when you're silent and you're not speaking out and you're not willing to take that risk, then you're actually contributing to the problem.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not contributing to the problem actively by being an abusive jerk or a little mini tyrant or a little regional tyrant or a sidewalk tyrant or a street tyrant or whatever you want to call it, when you're not calling out the tyranny, whether it's in your own department, your own sheriff's office, your own troop, state patrol barracks or whatever, but and being public and vocal about it, the problem's never going to get fixed. And Matt, I think, is a step in the right direction, and his agency doing, backing him and supporting him the way they do is opening a door. And if things play out the way they look like they're going to play out, Matt and I might actually be doing a monthly spot together on my channel, on my platform.
Nice.
Where we take videos and do live reacts between him and I of what we see in those videos. And because I put him on the spot on my show, I made him watch my January experience, and he was just like, "That happened to you?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Wow." And it was afterwards, he was all stoked, excited. He thought he goes, "That was great," and he's got all sorts of ideas now. So we'll see. A guy's busy, full-time job, newlywed, and all of that. And so it's, and I was thinking about the time that we had off, kind of transition away or segue away from, the time that we've had off, and that we're not on live on Tuesday nights right now or anymore. And a lot of our fan base was used to that. But I got to thinking, I'm like, Skipper works a full-time job. I work a full-time job. Juan works a full-time job. Plus, he manages all of Right American Media. He's the manager, the CEO, the CFO, the operations officer. He's the, kind of like when I'm doing my channel, I'm the gopher, the showrunner, the coordinator, the scheduler. I'm craft services, which is why no one, when I have them on, ever has snacks. Unless they bring their own, and it's just, it's tiring. It really does. It's tiring because, and this, you maybe, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, you manage, our Instagram and our Twitter and our YouTube and the Facebook and all of that. So you've got all of that going on top of your full-time job, and I've got my full-time job, and I'm coordinating my own shows as well.
And I will say, for those who are thinking about doing something like this, taking on too much social media is a major lesson learned that I wish I would have known. But yeah.
And I'm just like, I love doing our show, but I'm kind of like, it's kind of nice to have a break.
It is.
I shouldn't admit that.
No, it is. It is. It's good for us to have a break, and also to reevaluate, because I've had, since we did the break, I actually put out one video. It was a short, and it's gotten over 20,000 views. Like, I think I'm almost to 500 comments, and it was on the fires in Maui. So if you're watching on YouTube, actually go and through our shorts and check that one out. Very popular, but it allowed me to see like demographic stuff. So I'm getting information about our audience that, we have our core fans that come in to our chat, and they talk to us, and they follow us, and they're there when we go live. But then we have fans who casually watch, and so we're finally to the part where I'm starting to get that data. So it's good for us for the show going forward. Um, there, and it's just we have lives. Things change in our lives, so we have to react with them. So this is a good chance for all of us to sit back and say, okay, what's working, what's not working, and where do we where can we make things better? And that's the thing. It's always things never stay the same. They either get better or worse.
Uh, Hopefully better. I like to think we're improving.
From the numbers that I'm seeing, I think we're improving. Um, that's
I think it's just because it's everybody gets really tuned in when you get all fired up, because I'm the one that normally gets fired up, and so when you put out a short where you're like laying into people, it's
and I'm
you had a rough spot there with a couple of your shorts. I don't know who you were mad at, but I felt it from here.
I had well, so I did a show last week. We weren't able to coordinate to where I could get you on it, which sometimes you'll have to do a show without me. It happens. Um, but I did have a veteran on, and he is on YouTube as a Veterans Affair. So if you search that, you'll come across his videos. And this guy, he had his primary care manager, so his lead doctor, the one who makes every determination, uh, stalking him on Facebook, and was then taking, because he was playing airsoft, and putting into his medical record that she thought he was violent and doing all this stuff. And airsoft is just it's a thing that a lot of guys want to do. We want to play war. Uh, we're all big kids, and I know veterans who do it. I know people who aren't veterans who do it. He has a lot of fun doing it, but that has nothing to do with your medical history, and to have that used against you is just wrong. So I was very passionate about it, and the we were talking about the systems, and you've experienced this as well, where the systems protect themselves, even though they say they protect whistleblowers or victims or stuff like that. They're all designed to protect their organization, and the VA is no different, and that's why I took it upon myself.
Ask Bradley Manning how well his system has protected Bradley Manning from
Exactly.
being a whistleblower. You know, we can question the validity and sincerity, or even the truthfulness of the situation surrounding the Ukraine leaks from earlier this year with Tessera. But let's talk about how whistleblowing protected him. And yeah, I know, and that's you have to follow a prescribed procedure to be considered a whistleblower, which of course jeopardizes your safety and your security in the first place, because then they could just say, oh no, that's not a genuine whistleblower thing, so you're out, or we're gonna treat you like garbage. But
And that's you have to go outside the system sometimes, and that's if that's your only
absolutely.
recourse. And yeah,
And look at how many stories we've covered and talked about where it's veterans who are running into problems with the VA, and now you have a situation with a veteran who's being stalked, and let's call it what it is, illegally surveilled.
Yeah.
Illegally surveilled without a warrant, and stripped of services, and are threatened for of with punitive actions by an employee, a bureaucrat of the state,
Mm-hmm.
who's using information that they gather on this individual
To specifically
in their private activities to deny him care. That, if that's not a Fourth Amendment violation, I don't know what else it could possibly be considered. If your personal doctor wants to do that and not do business with you, like your personal, like somebody that you see outside of the VA, if they want to do that to you and basically put it out there that they're doing it, then they open themselves up to all sorts of like libel and slander lawsuits and malpractice lawsuits, but this chick does it as a representative of the state, violates this
And
guy's constitutionally enshrined rights and liberties, and nothing happens. Nothing.
and that's
Nothing happens. Why?
that's when I get worked up. When you're taking when you're corrupting the system. That's when I hate corruption. I will fight against it everywhere I see it. And if I take away anything good, it's that one, after doing that interview, that one, and the Angry Vet, after doing those two interviews, I've been getting veterans who, hey, this happened to me. I understand not all of them can film what's going on and post it onto YouTube, and I'm not saying that they should only do
I
it if
bet
it's
they
right for you.
all start doing it.
Well, the
I
good
bet
thing
I
is
bet you start to see a lot more of them doing it.
we're all coming together. And what I was doing was saying, make sure you support this guy, make sure you support this guy. Let's all band together, because when we stand as one, it's harder to break us. And, pushing stuff out to saying, hey, contact this VA and tell them it's not right. I made phone calls to several congressmen off of uh, various veterans who have had these issues. And it's funny because uh, uh, when I had Kahanu in, he and I were talking about this, and like a day later, he was like, "Hey, I don't know what you did, but all of a sudden now I'm getting contacted for appointments that I was being denied." And I said, "Well, it's a lot of it's because no one else is shining that light on it, and when they shine the light, then it's like deer in the headlights. They freeze, and then it's like I got to get out of here." And that's exactly what happens, and that's why us as veterans, we have to stick together so much on these cases.
Well, and when you when you think about it, some of this seems really new to a lot of people. Um, Sadly, people are going, "Oh gosh, this must be just relatively new," and they try to blame the Biden administration or whatever. And it's been an issue in the VA for a while, but I think you go back to 2017, one of the first cases of something egregious happening to a veteran at the hands of the VA. It took place down in Texas, and I cannot for the life of me remember the gentleman's name, but he's a Vietnam vet, a 30-year veteran of federal law enforcement who was going in for a dental appointment at his VA clinic down in Texas, and he put his ID in the basket to go through the X-ray scanner, and they said, "Hey, we need to see your ID," and he very calmly says, "It's in the basket." And the VA police, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, the VA have their own police, their
Who do
actual
not
own
have body
police. They're
cams.
not just security guards.
Who do not have body cams, which
Yeah,
is the next thing I'm going to
who
push
not have
on.
body cams. That's yeah. Which is why when you go in, you better be shooting video.
Hmm.
Um, One way or another, find a way. Uh, and because this is what saved this guy from charges. I mean, they did end up charging him, but then they ended up having to drop the charges. But uh, they ordered him through, which he didn't have a problem with, but they ordered him through the scanner, and he went through. And as he was going through, this VA cop grabs him, puts him in a chokehold, and then his partner walks up and grabs him. They throw him to the ground. He ends up with he's a serious injury to his throat. He has trouble now with speech and hearing. He's 70 years old when they did this to him and threw him to the ground and injured him like greatly. He was in there, like he was known in this clinic, but because this VA cop was having a bad day, I mean, I don't know what else to chalk it up to. Then they haul him in and haul him away, and then they charge him with disorderly conduct, and I think they may have even tried like assault on an officer.
Hmm.
And like I said, all of that was dismissed because somebody had video apart from the actual video in the facility. Somebody had video that showed like he didn't do anything wrong,
Hmm.
and yet nothing happened to those to those two men, to their supervisor, to anybody at the VA. And so this goes back, even, almost 7 years, which tells me how much further back does it go
Yeah.
that we don't know about. And how much, if it can happen that egregiously, I mean, look at what they did to, who is it? The flying auditor told us about, and I cannot remember his name, but he's the guy he's a special forces veteran who was blinded.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
We need to reach out to him and get him
they
on.
literally stole his property, which were functioned as his eyes and navigation. And it's the VA.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be helping you. And then I'll hear from people, well, I've never had that experience at my VA. I'm like, well, good for you. I'm glad that's not happening to you. Like,
you just made me think of Airplane. Jim never projectile vomits at home. But yeah, that's the fact that this is happening to more than one veteran is concerning. I mean, you'll always have that aberration out there, but I'm starting to see more and more veterans coming out and saying, yes, this is what happens. And the whole bad boy letter that the VA sends, I'll straight up say they need just to knock it off. I've seen the VA jerk so many people around over the years. It's just disgusting. But again,
well, and think about what it's being done for. It's you, like, I've talked to people now privately who have gotten those letters for asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you sure that this is the right diagnosis? Are you sure this is the right treatment for me? Oh, resistant to medical direction should be considered hostile.
And I will say, as we go forward with this show, we really need to sit and look at where do we see this show? What do we want to accomplish with this? Because I'll tell you, I've had in the last week now 2 veterans reach out who both have been guests on this show, both who I offered help to, who have since come back to me and said, "Hey, what you did worked." And it again, here's what I've seen, here's what I know works. I'll give you the best advice that I can. You need support, fighting, whatever. I'll happily do. But the fact to know that, just in 1 week we had 2 veterans who've been on this show come back and reach out to me, and I'll tell you who they are off the air, because I don't know if they want their situation known. But to have them come back and say, this really did anything, just really solidified that since day one I wanted this show to help improve veterans' lives in one way or another. And I think we're accomplishing that.
What if our way of improving the lives of veterans is to get you to stop telling bad jokes?
We might have to change the mission of the show.
Yeah. Those two things are in direct conflict with each other.
That's what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force.
It's an irresistible force, yeah. When you think about like one of the last guests that we had on before our hiatus, before our mid-season break, as Juan was working on the termination letter, when you think about it, it was the angry vet, and he had several pending court cases at the time, and one of them was in local county,
yes.
In
Baltimore
Maryland, in his county, in Baltimore County, Maryland, and the judge was not real thrilled about it, but handed him a victory there. But he still got these federal wiretapping charges pending over the VA situation, and he's got 40 years hanging over his head.
He does have.
But where would he be? Yeah, he does have his court dates, but he's got these 40 years hanging over his head, and he's taken heat from people, who are now questioning his veteran status
Yeah.
he was in the because he was in the Coast Guard, and I'm like, look, everybody, the Brownwater Navy is like the redheaded stepchild of the military. And yes, they might fall under the purview of the Department of Homeland Security. That's because, well, they just, they needed special attention. But that in no way, shape, or form, in any way, it takes away from their veteran status. In fact, if anything, not that the United States has known a moment of peace since the end of World War II. Honestly, we haven't. There hasn't been a year where we haven't been in conflict over something. But these guys, they're in combat zones constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly. And there again, we can have a conversation about the combat zones that they find themselves in, going after, drug interdiction and, getting into shootouts over guys running cocaine and heroin and fentanyl, and we could talk about the validity of the drug war all day long, but they're still experiencing combat. So even if that's all you did, you're still probably doing more than the average, small town beat cop, and we're gonna go, oh, I'm sorry, you're not a real vet. I'm like, what? Are you really? I'm like, can you just get over yourself?
When I had Kahanu on the show, and we were talking about, he's got videos that he's taken over the last several months, and he hasn't released them. And he's like, no, I'm going to start releasing them. And I told him, I said, the first thing that's going to happen, I said, it's going to be it'll be very shortly after you start releasing them. You'll get veterans who come after you and call you stolen valor or a fake vet, and it wasn't even 24 hours. He was sending me screenshots, and here's the thing on those. What I always say, our ranks have a lot of mental illness, a lot of undiagnosed mental illness, and that's what I chalk it up to. I know that they've attacked us. I know that they've attacked others, all saying the same thing, and it's.
It's funny that you say that, though, because I don't know. Maybe it's because you're kind of seen as the face of the channel, of the program. Obviously you were doing it. Yeah, please don't ever do that again. When you were doing it, a year before you brought me on board, and you had a previous co-host and whatnot. But I've yet to have anybody question my military cred. Where I get it is from the blue line people. When I put up a video, in like my Cletus videos bring them out like nobody's business. It's just, and it's so clear that it's parody, but what makes humor is the thread of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And like the thing that really you wouldn't understand because you've never done the job. And then when I go, well, I'm there, I've maybe done more of the job than you might think. And then when people ask, I'll tell them, yeah, I was a sworn deputy inside of a detention center. Yeah, see, you never did the job. You never actually worked a beat. And I'm like,
it's just as dangerous.
But yet I could talk about having. Yeah, I could talk about having been a vet and been with the 82nd Airborne, and I've yet to have anybody go, you were never with the 82nd, you're a liar, I'm like, what? Well, I just, it's like somebody was, I'm still getting views on the shorts that I put up from the January situation here with the college, and I think it was I think I put up thug cop pushes independent journalists, and somebody came on and said, you don't have any connection with any kind of media outlet at all, and nothing to do with journalism. And I'm like, well, I do. And
you're the
prove your assertion.
Yeah,
I am the upper. Well, North. I don't want. Am I still the Upper Midwest correspondent for Red American Media? Okay,
we got a thumbs up. For now.
No, we got the nut. We got the one. We got the Puerto Rican one nut.
Is I told Mom flat out. I go, we create a business
But
account.
yeah, I don't. It's
HR would like
you
to
know what
talk
it
with
comes
you.
down to, and I.
Yeah. Yep.
The business. And I said.
You know what it comes down to? I really do think it.
I told her, I said I'd create an account.
I hate to say this about my fellow vets,
Under my name, and I said I'd put Mom,
but
Dad, and my name on there.
even setting aside the mental undiagnosed mental illness,
I go then from there.
Oh,
there is a loyalty
Mhm.
in people
Hey,
to the VA
Justin,
because maybe they have had good experiences. There's a loyalty to people with the military in general because maybe they did have a great career and they never ran into a situation where they had a problem. And if you point out a problem, or if you talk about a problem, or if you say that you've had a problem, then you're somehow questioning the validity of their career, of their no matter how long it was, a year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, or 30 years. You are somehow questioning the validity and the honor and the integrity of that individual because you're questioning the honor and integrity of an amorphous non-person. And I'm going to piss off our Marine watchers, our Marine vets. Look, the Marine Corps isn't a godlike entity, folks. It's not. It's not a godlike entity. It's made up and run by the same people that run all the other branches of the military. All human beings, just like you, just like me. The integrity and the honor is not in the branch that you served with. The integrity and the honor is not in how long you were in. The integrity and honor is wrapped up inside of who you are and what you have done and whether or not you stood on that oath and kept that oath and remembered that oath. And if somebody stands up and says, hey, we have a problem here, whether it be with the VA or whether it be with the military, the Department of Defense or the Department of the Marines or the Department of the Navy. Wait, the Marines don't have a department. The Department of the Navy or the Department of the Air Force or whatever the case might be, or the Department of the Space Force. If questioning and pointing out that there's a problem and that there is a weakness is questioning your integrity and your ethics and your values, and that's enough for you to attack somebody else's service over it, then you're the problem. You're the problem.
I just want to go on the record and say...
And it's not the person who's pointing it out.
I just want to go on the record and say I think the Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard should merge into one department and call it Bed, Bath, and Beyond. It's open now. They went bankrupt, so we can use it. Trademark is available.
Well, they'd remain bankrupt then, because the military doesn't know how to run a budget. We just got rid of Skipper. You got fired. And folks, that was the show. So.
One thing I did see, I'll have to see if I'll bring it to the show. And this was just a funny thing. So I did see where someone took the coffin lockers that the Navy uses on ship, where it's the 3 berthing things, and they put that into their Airbnb and was like, "Oh, hey, 3 extra beds in this room." And all I'm like is, "Oh yeah, you're gonna hotbox them too, like how they do in the Navy."
I don't know what a coffin locker is, so I've never been shipside, so
it's a modular bed where you get like this much room to sleep inside of a box, and they're stacked, and there's 3 of them.
Oh, kind of like on Battlestar Galactica with the beds they had on the Battlestars.
They're very small. If you were to wake up and sit up too fast, you're gonna bang your head. There's a nice little reading light.
See,
I did spend one night on a ship.
It wasn't a ship; it was a hotel, and you paid for it. So,
I will say bravo Zulu to the crew of the USS Nashville.
Yeah, and that's mom was
Must be some
freaking
sort
out.
of
I go,
inside joke
"Mom,
there.
why are you freaking out? This is
No,
good
Bravo
for us."
Zulu just means.
And
good
she's
job.
like, "Well, they're gonna be filling his head full of stuff." I'm like,
Not when I was in it.
first
didn't,
off,
so
he's 13,
I don't
so
know
good
what
luck
it
with that.
meant when I was in.
I
Must
go,
be a
secondly,
Navy
I go,
Marine
this
thing.
is just gonna. I go, she's tightening her grip of
Oh.
control. I go, so.
So most of us just use words, like
this is
like
going
Air
to
Force and
make it
Army guys. We
tougher
actually use
on
words,
that.
Have I ever
Yeah,
told?
and we can spell them too.
Have I ever told the story about the check-in that I had, that I sent down to battalion?
The chicken or the chicken?
Checking, Marine checking in. So if I have told this story, feel free to stop me. But I was reminded of this. I had a friend of mine.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I've heard this one.
Okay. He sent
No,
sent this young Marine to me looking
Yeah.
for an ID-10T form. Now the joke is you write down ID-10T and it spells idiot. So you're showing this around to people and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for this form."
Yeah.
So he comes to me
Yep.
and he's like, Corporal Hill sent me for an ID-10T form. And I'm like, he knows I don't
Well, no,
have
he-
those.
he-
He walked all the way from
I'll
the
ask
time.
for
He's like,
exactly
"Yeah."
what
I'm
she's
like,
asking. That he
"Dude,
has to
I'm
say
sorry.
100 yards away.
I don't
from
have those anymore. You got to go back to battalion. You got to go to room 14. Let me double
And
check
if he,
it." And I open up
if
my
he's
thing.
in
I'm
a
like, "Okay, you gotta
car
go
waiting,
room
I can
14.
say that's
There's
menacing.
there's a lance corporal in there. His last name is DeJesus. Go in there, find him. He's got the form. So the guy leaves, and it's a little bit of a walk. So like
For
15
what?
minutes later, I get a call from the RP and
Oh,
RP
absolutely.
in the Navy means
Absolutely.
religious programs. So the
Yep.
RP in there gives me a call
Yep.
and he's like, "Did you just send a check-in down here to see the chaplain looking for DeJesus?" I'm like, "Yeah, did he find him?"
Yeah, he played a game that, quite honestly, it's kind of
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'd
But
never heard
there-
the ID-10T thing before. It must be a Marine downtime situation.
Oh yeah, we've got a bunch of them. Fallopian tubes for the 50 cal, 100 meters of flight line.
I should have said something beforehand about
I bet Juan's probably dealt with that one.
We used to-
Some young airman walking in being like, "They told me to come in here to get 100 meters of flight line."
protective order or some kind of restraining order.
We used to send people up to division headquarters, or like
Yeah.
82nd Airborne Division headquarters,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I told my
to
mom
get the keys to the drop zone.
exactly the way it would go. I'm like, any lawyer
I've heard
that
keys to the Humvee.
advice on
Oh no, keys to the drop zone. We've got an airborne training mission tomorrow. They're private. We need the keys to the drop zone, and we don't have the time to go get them. Can
Sorry,
you go
I'm
get
sitting
those?
here. I got a
They
recorded
tried that on
version
me
of
when
the,
I first
show
got to
going out.
division. They're like, first got to my unit, first day, hey, you want to head up to Division HQ and go get the keys to the drop zone? And I'm like,
I'm actually heading over to
do I really look that stupid?
We had a Marine who could
mean,
who
yeah,
could change his demeanor, and
Uh,
at will, and they would be like, "Hey, go over to Sergeant so and so
I
and
need
ask him how his
to
sister rides a
purchase
bike."
a.
So these Marines would
Shed.
be like, "Okay," and they're like, "It's a funny story. Just ask him." And they'd go and be like, "How's your
So,
sister
I'll be
ride a
doing
bike?"
that
And you'd
for
be
you.
like, "My sister was born with no legs, you jerk. What the hell you think you're?" But the guy
Because
had no sister.
you'll get me a discount through Home Depot.
Oh, we're running up on time because Juan has another show to.
Yep.
Yeah, Juan has another show to record. Mostly he needs
Yeah,
to
yeah.
email me my termination papers, and so you got anything coming up, Skipper? Hey, did the cruise happen?
No, the cruise is happening in November, and I'm working on some
So it got pushed
other
out now.
fundraisers that we're doing. No, it's still November. That's when it's always been.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
we may be doing
I
another
couldn't
one.
remember.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
if this one's successful,
Yep.
Are you getting
exactly.
people signed?
Exactly. But
Yes.
no,
we do have signups.
he wanted
especially
to.
someone that's over PMO.
Find a sponsor yet? So I can put Heather on that.
And
cruise? She
that,
really
that's
needs
what's
it.
gonna make
Not
them
yet,
look.
but
bad.
we do have.
That's what'll make them
We
look
may
bad.
have some others coming up.
I see that one of the workshops is regurgitating our. Oh wait, that's regulating our emotions. Never mind.
Pushing her or anything like that.
Well, you got anything
So-
coming up?
I got a big show next week on Monday night.
I think when they hear this video, Mike,
I'm surprised I landed this guest, but former gubernatorial candidate here in Minnesota, Scott Jensen,
Nice.
is coming on my
Um,
show live on Monday.
yeah,
After I had been a little
Yep.
bit hard on him, we're gonna have a really good heart to heart. We found
And
the
that's, you
election
can see
changed
in the
him.
video,
He has
which I went through.
um,
Here, let me see if I can
recognized some
do
big
that
problems with the Republican
now.
Party and some of the way they handle things, and
Studio.
we're actually going to talk about his fight for First Amendment and freedom of speech.
Here,
Um,
I'll set it to
Yes, Juan,
unlisted.
he's
So if you
really
wanna
he is a good
take a
guy.
look
He
at that
had some
video, you'll see
struggles
where I
with his
blurred out
campaign and
comments.
how he campaigned, but he's really kind of come around
Nice.
on some issues, and so he's coming in on Monday. And I'm also in communication with a gentleman named Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, who is just this week put his hat in the ring for the nomination for the Libertarian Party presidential candidate. I've had a couple, one other presidential candidate nominee on, or trying to be a nominee. That's Mike Termott, and so, and I'm approaching 3,000 subscribers
Oh yeah,
on my
Nice.
channel. So if you guys are out there watching and you haven't, I'm basically 50 away. And if you can prove that you are my 3,000 subscriber, there might be a free day of coffee. And no, Mike, that doesn't mean, or Juan, that doesn't mean you guys get to unsubscribe and then subscribe at the right time. That is not how it works.
Before we sign off, I do want to say we have a new shirt on our website. It says "Keep calm and think about the Roman Empire." If you've been following that, yeah, that's all I've got to plug. Anything else?
No, Juan, thank you for allowing us back in on the network there after our hiatus, and looking forward to having a regular schedule again. I know that can be difficult with the Marine in the mix.
And to all of our folks
But,
out there,
I-
I do want to. We're coming up against our time. I do want to say thank you for joining us, and
yeah.
as always,
dude, yeah.
thank you for being worth serving.
It does.
That's why Jessica made a mistake upon her. She doesn't know this puts everything, like, this puts everything on the table.